Girl, let me show you something. Look, see this paper? It's thick. Got that good weight to it. And right here, this little raised circle, that's the official seal from the Fulton County Superior Court. This thing right here, this final divorce decree, this is the period at the end of the longest, ugliest sentence I ever had to live through. When I hold it now, it feels like peace. But when this whole mess started, I ain't have no peace. I just had a feeling, you know that little whisper in your soul that something ain't right? This paper is proof that I finally decided to listen to it. I'm telling you this woman to woman, 'cause what I learned through all this, chile, it's not stuff they teach you in school. I'ma tell you everything, and by the end, I'm gonna give you the 3 things I tell any woman walking into a storm like this. You just gotta hold on, 'cause it gets real messy before it gets clean. It's funny. The first real sign that something was off with David wasn't about another woman. It was about a bunny. Seriously, our kids, Layla and Benji, had found this little baby rabbit in the backyard. Its mama was nowhere to be found. They were so gentle with it, made it a little shoebox bed with grass and everything. I was gonna take it to a wildlife rescue the next day. But David, nah. He comes home talking about we can't interfere with nature, the strongest survive. He has to learn to be free. He stayed doing stuff like that, always gotta prove he know better than everybody. So he takes the kids and the bunny outside, gives this whole big speech about courage, and lets the little thing go at the edge of the woods. Girl, not 30 seconds later, a hawk swooped down out of the sky and snatched that poor baby right up in front of my children. Layla and Benji were screaming. I was just stunned. From that day on, the kids called him the Bunny Killer. And looking back, that name fit him better than I ever could have imagined. He didn't care about freedom. He just liked watching things get destroyed. The real trouble, though, it didn't start with a bang. It started with a whisper. It was a Tuesday night. I was tucking Layla in. She was 8 at the time, all quiet and serious. She grabs my hand and says, "Mommy, can I tell you a grown-up secret?" I'm thinking she's about to tell me she broke a vase or something. I'm like, "Of course, sweetie." And she leans in close and whispers, "When you go to your book club on Saturdays, Auntie Angela comes over for special secret time with Daddy. Chile. When I tell you, the air left my body. It was like the floor just fell away. My sister, my baby sister Angela in my house with my husband while 2 towns over discussing Toni Morrison with my friends. The betrayal was so deep, it didn't even feel real. It was like something you see on a bad TV show. But this was my life. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just kissed my daughter's forehead, told her thank you for being brave enough to tell me, and walked out of her room. I went downstairs, sat at my kitchen table, the same one we're sitting at right now, and I just stared at the wall. My whole body was buzzing, and that's when I did the first smart thing. I didn't call him. I didn't call her. I picked up my phone and I called my big brother, Malcolm. He's that quiet, steady kind of man, you know? He picked up on the first ring. I couldn't even get the words out right. I was just choking on them. All he said was, "I'm on my way." He didn't ask no questions, nothing. Just, "I'm on my way." He was at my house in 20 minutes. I told him what Layla said, and his whole face just got tight. He told me he'd seen them looking a little too familiar at the family cookout a few months back, but didn't want to say nothing. Didn't want to start no trouble over a feeling. We sat right here at this table until almost 3 in the morning, and we made a plan. A cold, hard plan. He looked me dead in my eyes and said, "Imani, you can't get emotional. Not yet. Emotion is a luxury right now. You gotta get proof. You gotta fight smart, not loud." He was right. If I had gone off on David that night, he would have just lied. He would have twisted it, made me sound crazy, probably even turned it around on Layla. So I did the hardest thing I've ever had to do. I went upstairs, got into bed next to that man, and pretended I was asleep. The whole time, my heart was beating so hard I was sure he could hear it. I knew right then, this wasn't a marriage anymore. This was a war, and I was finna win. The next morning, I woke up and played my part. Made coffee, got the kids ready for school, kissed him goodbye like nothing was wrong. The whole time, it felt like I was watching a movie of my own life. As soon as his truck pulled out the driveway, I was on my laptop. Malcolm had sent me a list: hidden cameras, a GPS tracker. I ordered 3 cameras that looked like everyday objects. One was a digital clock for the living room, one was a USB phone charger for our bedroom, and one was a smoke detector for the family room downstairs, and a little magnetic GPS tracker for his truck. Paid extra for rush shipping. It all arrived in a discreet brown box 2 days later. Girl, I felt like a spy. I spent hours reading the manuals, setting up the apps on a new burner phone I bought with cash. I was not playing. The next Saturday was my book club. I got dressed, told David I was heading out, and he gave me this big, happy kiss. Have fun, babe. The whole time I'm just thinking, you a dead man walking. I drove down the street, parked, and waited. Malcolm pulled up behind me a few minutes later. We sat there in his car, and he just looked at me. You sure you're ready for what you might see? I just nodded. I had to know. We waited until we saw Angela's little Hyundai pull into my driveway. Then we waited another 10 minutes. Malcolm was so calm, it kept me calm. He was like, okay, he's distracted now. Let's go. We snuck around to the back of my own house like we were burglars. I used my key on the back door and we slipped in. The TV was on loud downstairs. We could hear them laughing. My stomach was in knots. Malcolm stood watch at the top of the stairs while I went from room to room, swapping out the real charger for the camera one, placing the clock on the mantle, sticking the new smoke detector on the ceiling. It took less than 5 minutes. Then we slipped back out, quiet as ghosts. On the way out, I slapped that little GPS tracker up under the bumper of his F-150. Done. For the next week, I lived a double life. I checked the footage when he was in the shower or after he went to sleep. I saw them on my couch. My couch, girl, kissing, getting comfortable. But it wasn't enough. It was proof, yeah, but I needed something undeniable. Something a judge couldn't ignore, so I set a bigger trap. I told him my book club girls and I were doing a spa weekend up in the mountains, leaving Friday and coming back Sunday. The way his face lit up, it made me sick. He was so happy to get me out of the house. He even helped me pack my bag. That Friday, I kissed my kids goodbye. I had already arranged for them to stay with my mom, thank God, and I drove off, waving like I was the happiest wife in the world. I drove about 20 minutes toward the mountains. Then I took the first exit and circled back. I checked into a little motel on the other side of town. One of those clean but no frills places. Malcolm was already there, waiting in the room with his laptop open. He had bought snacks and everything, trying to make it feel less grim. I logged into the camera feeds on his computer, and we just sat there, waiting. It didn't take long. Around 7 p.m., the GPS showed David leaving the house. He drove straight to Angela's apartment complex. 10 minutes later, he was driving back to my house. We turned on the audio for the living room camera, and we watched them walk in. He was carrying her bags. She was already complaining about her back hurting. They sat on the couch, and he poured them both some of my good wine. And then they started talking, and girl, that's when my whole world cracked wide open for the second time. She was worried that her baby bump was starting to show. His baby. My sister was pregnant with my husband's child. I had to put my hand over my mouth to keep from screaming. Malcolm just put his hand on my shoulder, a silent, solid weight. It got worse. David started talking about me, how boring I was, how I was always focused on the kids, on the budget, how I didn't excite him anymore. Then they started talking about money. My daddy's inheritance that was in a trust for me. They were plotting on how he could get access to it in a divorce, wondering if he could claim he helped me manage it. The final blow, the thing that turned my shock into pure cold rage, was when he put his hand on her stomach. He leaned in and said, "Don't you worry about our little secret. Once that money is right, I'm done with her. She can have the kids. We'll have our own do-over, a fresh start." He said that about my babies, Layla and Benji, that they were part of the life he wanted to throw away. He wasn't just cheating. He was trying to replace us, all of us. That was it. That was the moment. I didn't cry. I just got cold. I looked at Malcolm, and he just nodded. He knew. He started saving the video files to a hard drive right then and there. I sat on that stiff motel bed all night, not sleeping, just watching the ceiling. I wasn't a wife anymore. I wasn't a victim. I was a woman with a mission, and I had all the evidence I needed to burn his whole world to the ground. He thought he was killing a bunny. He ain't know he was messing with a lioness. The next morning, while he and my sister were probably having brunch in my kitchen, I was on the phone. I called the most ruthless divorce lawyer in Atlanta, a woman whose name I'd heard whispered at parties. Her office was in one of them glass towers in Buckhead. I got an emergency consultation for Monday morning. I walked in there with Malcolm, laid out the hard drive, the burner phone with the GPS app, and a notebook with dates and times. The lawyer, this sharp woman in a killer suit, she just watched the main video clip, the one where they talked about the baby and the inheritance. She didn't even flinch. She just closed the laptop, looked at me, and said, "Has done. We're going to file for divorce on grounds of adultery, and we're filing for an emergency temporary custody order for the children. He won't even see it coming." And he didn't. Her team moved like lightning. The papers were filed by Tuesday. He got served at his construction site on Wednesday. Chile, you should have seen the call log on my phone. He called me 37 times. Left all these voicemails, first begging, then threatening. Threatening to ruin me, to tell everyone I was crazy, unstable. I didn't answer a single call. I just forwarded the audio of the most threatening voicemail to my lawyer. She was like, "Oh, this is a gift. Keep letting him talk." I knew he was going to do something stupid. I just knew it. He was too arrogant to just take the L. And a few days later, it happened. I was at home with the kids. We were watching a movie, and my phone buzzes. It's a notification from the camera app. Motion detected in the bedroom. I look at the feed, and it's him. He still had a key. He was walking around the room, messing with my things, looking angry. Then he picks up his phone and dials 911. Girl. I turned the audio up. I heard him putting on a whole show. Yes, my wife, she just attacked me. She's been threatening me for days. I'm scared for my life. I had to lock myself in the bedroom. He was faking his breathing, making himself sound scared. And all the while, I'm watching him on my phone, and I can see this little smirk on his face. He thought he was so clever. He was performing. He just didn't know he had an audience. I heard the sirens a few minutes later. I told the kids to stay put, and I went to the door. 2 officers were there, hands on their hips, looking at me like I was the problem. David comes walking down the stairs, pointing at me. "That's her. She's the one." One of the cops starts walking towards me, telling me to put my hands behind my back. I stayed calm. I said, "Officer, before you do that, can I please show you a video? It's from a security camera, and it's timestamped too right now." The cop looked annoyed, but his partner was like, "Let's see it." I held up my phone, my hands not even shaking, and I played the video. The video of David walking into the room perfectly calm, picking up his phone, and staging the entire 911 call, complete with a little smirk. You could have heard a pin drop. The 2 cops looked at the phone, then at David, then back at the phone. The smirk on David's face just melted. The first cop turned to him and said, "Sir, put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for filing a false police report." They cuffed him. Right there in my foyer, walked him out of my house in handcuffs. And I just stood there and watched. After that, it was a landslide. The divorce was a joke. With video proof of adultery and a criminal charge for filing a false report, he had no leg to stand on. His lawyer basically told him to take whatever he could get. He got nothing. No house, no inheritance, no spousal support, just his clothes and a child support order that made his eyes water. He walked away with what he deserved. The aftermath was quiet. I changed the locks, had a company come and sweep for any other listening devices just in case. I bought a new living room set because I couldn't stand to look at that couch. Malcolm and my mom helped me rearrange everything, make the space feel like mine again. Angela? I ain't heard from her. My mama told me she moved out of state. That's a wound that's gonna take a long time to heal. Maybe never, but sitting here now, in my quiet, clean house, I'm okay. It ain't the life I planned, but it's real. It's honest, and it's mine. And I learned some things that I carry with me now, like armor. First, when your gut is talking to you, you better listen. That little whisper is the truest thing you'll ever hear. Don't you dare make excuses for nobody when your own spirit is telling you something ain't right. Second, don't you ever show your hand before you got all your cards lined up. Emotion is a luxury you cannot afford when you are fighting for your future and your children's future. Stay quiet, stay focused, and let them think they're winning right up until the moment you take everything. And third, and this is the most important one, sis, document everything. I'm talking everything, screenshots, call logs, certified mail receipts, videos, audio. A memory can be argued with, a feeling can be dismissed. A time-stamped high-definition video of a man committing a crime cannot. So yeah, this paper, it ain't just a piece of paper. It's my receipt. It's the proof that I chose me, I chose my kids, and I chose my peace over his performance. And on everything, I'd do it again. Thank you, Imani, for sharing this story with us. Chile, I'm just sitting here thinking about the quiet strength it took to walk through that fire. I'm telling you, this was a betrayal so deep it could have broke anybody. But Imani, she didn't just get mad, she got strategic. She turned her pain into a plan, and her house from a place of secrets into a place of truth. And honestly, that's the victory right there. That peace is real. Now look, there are some powerful lessons here for all of us. When she heard that awful news from her daughter, she didn't run downstairs and start a war. She called her brother. That right there is the first move. The mistake folks stay making is letting that raw hurt do the talking. You can't think clear when you screaming. And let me tell y'all, the proof. Seriously. That man staging a whole 911 call thinking he was slick, and she caught it all on camera. What a moment. If I had to break this down for somebody going through something similar, I'd say this. Document everything. Write it down, record it, save it. Because a judge can't rule on your feelings, but they sure can rule on a time-stamped video. You know, that's a good rule to remember. Don't just get loud, get evidence. For real. And don't you ever let nobody make you feel bad for protecting your legacy, like she protected her daddy's inheritance. That ain't being greedy. That's just being smart. Imani, you done showed so many people how to stand up for themselves with grace and with wisdom. That piece you got now, you earned every single piece of it. If this story gave you something to think about, go ahead and subscribe and hit that thumbs up. Let me know in the comments which city or state y'all watching from. And right now on the screen, you're gonna see other videos from the channel. Click one and let's keep going.